Welcome back. Now let's take you through the newspapers this morning. The major stories making headlines across Nigeria. We're joined this morning by public affairs analyst Dotun Ojon. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. It's good to be here this morning.
All right. Yeah. We kick off on the Punch newspapers this morning, and it should be on your screen in a second. Yes, it says hardship protest. US, UK, Canada issue security alerts. Traders fear looting. Foreign missions foresee violence as federal government and Obi defer on protest sponsors. Fuel rises to 1,300 naira per litre as depots run dry. And it says only NNPC Limited can buy Dangote petrol, Ipman is saying. Interesting. SIM linkage, SIM and NIN linkage. Telcos begin mass disconnection. We can also find here, victim under pressure to drop police station rape case, says the family. LH Telecoms acquires majority stake in 9 Mobile. All right, and court orders 1 billion naira payment to Oceanic Bank ex-staff. These are the major stories on the Punch this morning. Right next, let's go to the Vanguard newspapers.
On the way from the Punch to the Vanguard newspaper, the big story, hardship. Police protest organizers dig in. There's another one, gay marriage approval. Anglicans threaten to break away from Church of England. And then there's not a lot of stories. Okay, there's another one. Abuja politicians behind banditry and killings in Benue, according to Governor Alia. Shortage, fuel prices rise 21% to 850 naira per litre as marketers short stations. Let's begin the conversation regarding the police protests and how the police have given the guidelines for how the protest must be run. They said first that the curfew has to be at 4 p.m. Two, they need the names of the protest sponsors or, the protest leaders, names and contact details. What do you think about that?
Okay, I'm totally indifferent about whatever the police has said. I'm totally indifferent about what the government has said because the more we talk on this issue, the more we advertise our lack of knowledge. For about 3 years, I traveled from Ikorodu to Island using the ferries on Friday. And we've done this for about 2 years, until one day, as we were going, the waters became troubled, only for us to know that the guy that has been transporting us for over 2 years is so inexperienced. In the subject of leadership, you don't know how experienced your leader is until there's crisis in the community. And that's exactly what has played out in this situation. And often, there are many Nigerians that have burnt the bridge. I'm one of them. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here. So if I am here, I should know what is good for my country. I know that what is good for my country at this moment is not destruction of property. I also know the fact that what is good for my country at this point in time is to have able-bodied men and women, intellectuals, who can hit the street and tell the government that what you are doing at this point is not how to run a government. I do understand all of this. And let me take you back to history. There's never been a protest in Nigeria, including the NSAS protest, that actually led to crisis. It is not the protest that leads to crisis. It is always the response to the protest. And I'm going to be very clear and blunt. If you read from Google, just a simple search this morning, you discover that the organization of the protest in the year 2020 was about the best anywhere in the world. And crisis did not break out until the government responded to it. So when you say, and philosophically, they say the matter is not the matter. The matter is how you respond to the matter. So if there's a subject of protest in the community as a result of hardship which nobody can deny, hardship that the government promised to fix, hardship that the people do not have any reason to be experiencing, then it borders on us as a people to continue to know that the first thing to do is to actually ask yourself a very basic question without emotion. Are we in the right state in the nation? And it's not a subject of what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu did in the last 1 year. I keep telling the people, when you continue to boil the water, it gets to a point where it evaporates. And that's the point we get to. So if we have 30 years, a traditional ruler came out to say, oh, in the last 30 years, it's been warning the government that if we continue this thing like this, we are going to get to a point where the people will no longer be able to take it. So all of this are happening, and sometimes I just want to excuse myself because I do not want to unnecessarily hit up the polity, but it's also a truism that we must tell it to whosoever needs to hear that at this point in time, whatever will happen as a result of the protest will not be as a result of the protest. It will be the response of the government to the protest.
Which is very interesting. And so before we go to talking about petrol scarcity or anything else, also share your views on the 4 p.m., the 4 p.m. Curfew. The idea is to limit the possibilities of hoodlums and the likes, hijacking the protests and all of that. Do they have a point?
Okay, let me tell you that the simple thing to do, and I come from a police-populated family, and I know how experienced the Nigeria police force is. And I know when they want to work, I know how they can actually deliver. And I also know the fact that if not because majority of these people are forbidden by the act not to protest, they will be at the forefront. And let's start from that. Because the living standard of an average policeman today in Nigeria is nothing to write home about.
Absolutely.
And I tell you that if a constable, as small as that rank is, dies in my community in Ondo State today, his file needs to get to the IG before approval is given for his gratuity to be paid. And most often, these people, their wives get molested before they even get the gratuity. So we are talking about a communal problem that affects everybody. And the way the police should have responded to it, or the way I think they should respond to it, and I think I mentioned the other day, I did a program of public leadership in the UK, and everything we were taught is about the UK police. Why is that? Because your police is the symbol of your community. So if police is coming out to say, oh, how to curb this thing is 4 p.m., and I say no. How to curb this is to ensure that the protesters are protected. Once you protect the protesters, you will discover that these hoodlums here and there that people are afraid of will not be able to perpetrate evil.
All right.
So my own concern is that give the protester protection and you have been able to protect your community.
Let's hear from Aloy calling this morning. Good morning, Aloy. Thanks for calling. Please go ahead with your comment.
Yeah, good morning. Just to make it...
Aloy, are you still there?
I want to respond to the...
Yeah, of course, it also sets, a precedent. Good morning, go ahead.
For particulars of protesters.
Yes.
I want to tell you that it's true for particulars. It's go to INEC. But all the people that voted, vote for and against, their particulars are with INEC.
Aloy, we would need to have you call back.
But I think I heard him say something like if they need details, they should go to INEC. I was trying to get the correlation, but unfortunately...
I was also saying, that certain timelines for a protest, or curfews, and saying that protest should end by 4 p.m., everybody should go home because of the curfew, also sets a precedent, that next time that there's a protest, they might say it ends at 12. The police might say, okay, wrap your protest between 7 and 9, or you have only 20 minutes, to do your protest and go home, which, infringes on the right to protest. To some extent.
The reality is that it has become very clear that the government does not know how to respond to this. And I listened to former President Olusegun Obasanjo speak in Kenya, and he said something that is very important. He said in Africa, our democratic practice in Africa shows that opposition is enmity. So when somebody is hitting the street, the first thing that comes across the government is that, oh, my enemy is coming. And the next thing they do is that they think about how to crush the enemy, not the situation. So most often, why government responds the way it responds is because opposition in Africa is enmity. And it doesn't matter whether you make sense at that point or not. So they are not looking at the situation, they are looking at the personality of an enemy in every act of opposition. And that's why they come to say, oh, we're going to limit this to 4 p.m. because our enemy is hitting the street. The truth is that what we have, and I keep telling people, is that there are 3 levels to criticism. Let's start from there. The first is to speak about the problem. The second level is to speak about the problem and provide the solution. The third level is to create a better version of what you dislike, which is what this government promised.
Okay.
It was very easy for them to come out in 2012 to say, oh, we no go green. But the opportunity, nature has given them the opportunity, the universe has given them the opportunity now to actually create a better version of the government they disliked in 2012, and everybody does not know what to do.
All right. Kenneth is calling from Sokoto. Good morning, Kenneth. Thanks for calling. Please go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My take on this matter is that my own view, I'm not in support of the protest that people are planning to take place on 1st of August. Because my reason is that things are hard. People want to go out on the street to destroy the common man thing. Whatever you are destroying, the same government will come back, steal money again, and repair those things.
All right.
Based on what former NMPP candidate that Dotun said, it baffles me during election time. The same common man, the same poor man that will be used in INEC, whatever, we will collect money and still change INEC results.
All right.
When we are doing it in 2023, have they forgotten?
Okay. Kenneth, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. He's highlighted how the common man is going through a challenging time. We need to get in as much as we can in this conversation. We've stayed on this protest conversation a little too long. Let's talk about fuel price. Okay. The front page of the Punch reads that fuel rises to 1,300 naira per litre as depot run dry.
I am sorry. I am going to go back to the issue of protest because there's another one coming now. When you talk about the protest, you can just highlight about 3 things that might lead to a protest. And I say, you know, when your alarm wakes you up in the morning and you snooze it, if care is not taken, you sleep past your time. I hope we will not snooze the protest, even when at the end of the day, I have agitated for conversation. Even if at the end of the day, this protest does not, if people don't get to the street, I hope we will not snooze it. If protest does not hold now, nobody hits the street. All of these things, I called one of the special advisors to the president, I think on, I can't remember his office, and I told him that, see, if 2 people slap themselves in petrol queue alone, that can lead to breakdown of order. So we are actually addressing protest today. Everybody is talking about protest, but this is another banger hitting everybody. We are yet to recover from the hardship in the community, and somehow we are getting to know that, oh, fuel subsidy is gone. We are getting to know that government has through the back door reintroduced fuel subsidy. We are getting to know that fuel price is hitting above 1,000 naira. All of these things are the problem that the government must use this opportunity to tackle. And what are we saying? If your refineries do not work for 30 years, it is not something that anybody should hit the street to remind you. And when you came on board, you said, oh, we were going to fix it. I was one of those people who were speaking of you for people to give you an opportunity until you came on here to say nobody should pity you. I mean the president. Unfortunately, you have surrounded yourself with 36 state governors who have taken more money than they have ever taken. And instead of laundering your reputation by providing the dividend of democracy for the people, these people take money. See, there's a state in the Southwest. Before the former governor left, they were taking 5 billion naira. Now they are taking 13 billion naira. And there has never been a single change between the man that is there now and the man that was there in terms of infrastructure, in terms of youth engagement, in terms of provision of basic amenity, in terms of even doing for the people the basic things that they cannot do for themselves. So we are in a situation in the country where, oh, the president is making economy policy. Fantastic economy policy. But my problem with the economy policy is that experiences in the last 1 year have shown that it's just trial by error. When they wanted to work on the dollar, they started giving money to BDC, Bureau de Change. But they stopped at a point. Now they have returned. It shows that maybe they don't have a clear idea of what to be done. But let's even leave that. But what are the state governors doing at their own level?
They are appealing with Nigerians to...
It is sad. And what are those 3 areas that I was expecting that any serious-minded government will invest in to actually reduce the impact of what we have?
Before you mention what these 3 areas are, let's hear from Usman calling from Abuja. Good morning, Usman. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Usman. It's my name. I have a little contribution.
Thank you for calling. Please go ahead. Can you please go ahead? We can hear you.
Yes. In as much as the protest will be, Nigerians will protest, in as much as they are not going to put damages to our economy. Hello?
Go ahead,
Go ahead, we can hear you. Go ahead.
In as much as there's not going to be what you call it, destruction, I think a peaceful protest would send a clear signal to the government.
All right. All right, Usman, thanks for your thoughts.
I was trying to make a point.
So the three areas you think that any serious government should have focused on?
As urgently as possible.
All right.
Number one is agriculture.
Okay.
Now you hit the street, you drive past in the street, and people are asking you, it has moved from give me money to buy me anything I can eat. The reality has even hit the street that people are stopping you before to say, oh, Baba, give me money. Now it's Baba, don't give me money. What happens to our money? It means that whatever you give them now, the value of it has gone down. So they just want you to buy food. So we must have a deliberate investment in agriculture. And I've spoken about housing again and again. People no longer have where to put their head. Why? Why is that? It's not just because of the fact that we have housing deficit in Nigeria. It's also the fact that politicians have been able to put in their stolen money into that sector. And what do I mean? I mean that ordinary housing a housing unit that should go for 21 million, it's now 80 million. Why? Because there's so much money in the pocket of some people that they just want to hide by buying houses all over the community. And by extension, you cannot get a decent accommodation within the limit of your salary. And I keep saying it, that housing is one very good thing that government must have a deliberate investment, not just in building, but in regulating. Now they are talking about paying per month. You know the former Lagos State government governor did that and it didn't work. And I said, no, the National Assembly should forget about monthly payment. What we should have is a regulation that says that if I live in Okukumaiko, I shouldn't pay more than 1.2 million per annum. If I live in Surulere, I shouldn't pay more than 1.5 million. But government can only do that if government itself has investment. Before government will be able to do that, it means that in Ikorodu, government has about 2,000 units of flat. Then you use that as regulation. This thing works. And I thank God we have tried it in 1970. Is it 1976 or 1977? Yeah. And this thing works.
All right. All right, we need to wrap up here. Thank you very much, Dotun Ojon, for your passion and for your love for Nigeria.
The truth is that for some of us, I say it again, that
there's no other place.
So we must be deliberate about
All right.
All right. But I do want us to quickly, please, before we wrap up, let's talk about this conversation, because I don't think that it's gotten the publicity that it deserves. Still on the front page of The Punch, the bottom story, victim under pressure to drop police station rape case family. We're hoping that we can reach out to the family to come and speak about it. Now, it was a story of a young girl who went to the police to report about her stolen phone. And, you know, when she went to report her stolen phone, the door was shut and she was allegedly raped. Now, there have been conversations about this, many people calling the police and asking the police to reveal the face of the perpetrator of this act to ensure that he be brought to book. But now, the update we're seeing is that the victim is under pressure to drop the police station rape case.
Yes, and I listened to the state PPRO, Hudei, who was trying to say, oh, the state government, the state command is investigating and doing all things possible. And I say that in corporate communication, when a matter becomes public, the process should also be made public. This is one of the reasons why people lose hope in their government and lose faith in the process of governance. So you know that this is a serious matter. The accusation got public outrage. The process of prosecution must also get the people informed. That means that you are not going to do the prosecution under the table. So that at the end of the day, there will not be accusation of any kind of cover-up. And I'm so sad this morning that I'm reading this from the family. And it's a call on the Lagos State Police Command to ensure that the people are aware of the real situation. It's not just it's beyond just showing the face of the perpetrator. It is the fact that every other process that is involved in the prosecution must be made public.
Yeah,
all right.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Dotun Ojon. It's always a pleasure to have you.